Welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. Jim Norton is one of my favorite comics. He's very funny. He's very busy. You have a YouTube show with your wife, Nikki. You have your serious show. You've got your charity work that you do at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, I promise not to show up and people donate money if he stays away, especially when I look like I look right now. Like I haven't shaved in a week because I got bit by a dog. So like my skin was a little sensitive.
Did you get bit by a dog in the face?
Well, it was a very weird, it wasn't like a biting. He nipped, I think he was warning me. Like
was it a Chihuahua?
No, it was
They're bastards.
They're nasty, but this was a rescue Rottweiler, like a lab mix.
Oh, okay.
Like 90-pound dog.
Oh, God.
But I was leaning over his face. Like dogs don't like it when you come from above.
Yeah.
And he with his teeth grabbed, but there's no mark. It just hurts.
Yeah.
He didn't bite, but he just kind of like pushed up with his
like
teeth.
A Russian assassin. That dog knows what it's doing.
Because he could have killed me.
Yeah.
He could have ripped my
neck. But he
neck.
also, he could have harmed you visibly and then he would have been put down. But he's like, no, I'm gonna make Jim think about this in his sleep.
Yeah, and he did. I haven't shaved in 4 days. This is like the old cops putting the phone book on you before they hit you so there's no marks.
Exactly.
That's what the dog did to me, basically. Phone booked me.
Are you a dog fan?
My wife wants one. She's desperate for a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I love them, but I don't like taking care of them, and I know she won't take care of them.
That's exactly what happens when kids want a dog.
Right.
So we got a dog when we moved from LA to New York. So now they're teenagers, but back then, like, we will walk it. We'll pick everything up. We'll take the dog to the vet. And I'm like, you're 6.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
You're not going to do anything.
No.
Yeah, that's what would happen at home. My wife's going to lay there like Elvira in Scarface with the things on her eyes at 2 PM, and I'm going to have to take this little beast out. So that's why I haven't gotten one yet.
How did you and Nikki meet?
We met. She Facebooked me. She liked some of the things I have said publicly in certain interviews, and she sent me a message. And so she was attractive, so I messaged her back. And she was from Norway, so we talked for 7 months before we physically met.
Did you fall in love in that 7 months?
As much as you can on FaceTime.
Do you think she fell in love?
No, she liked me. But again, until you meet, you just don't know what it's going to be, what it's not going to be. But yeah, just talking to her day in and day out, it forced you, because you're not hooking up. So it forced you to like, well, do I like this person or do I not like this person? So when I first met her, I was like, oh, I really like her.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. She's from Norway, even though it's a friendly U.S. country. Immigration still took 5 years. It was a whole thing because she had a minor ticket for sending a text about hashish. Like literally, it's crazy.
Wow. So was that on the U.S. side or the Norwegian side?
Well, the Norwegian side gave her the ticket, even though, again, it was literally a text message they saw on someone else's phone. It's crazy. And then the U.S. side, if it's on your record, if it's noted in the police record, you have to go through a process.
Damn.
So we did. It was a long process.
Wow, that's wild. So are the Norwegians as cold as other Scandinavians?
Yes, 100%. I mean, and very literal too. You know what I mean? Like just
like autism literal?
I mean like moonwalking on the spectrum. Like I'll say to her, like, I'll say to her sometimes, I'll be like, oh God, I put on weight. I'm 600 pounds. No, you're not. Like, I know.
You're 145, Jim.
Yeah, it's very, very
this nonsense.
It's funny you picked that up though, because she knows Norwegians are very kind of robotic in a way, and she knows that, and it's funny to hear somebody else notice that. But I guess it is all Scandinavians, right?
Well, so when I grew up in Portland, and then after I left MTV, I moved to Seattle, and people were very cold in a way that Portlanders weren't. And so I realized, like, Portlanders like a bunch of hippies and a bunch of people who relocated from the Midwest, like my parents. So there's like a warmth, and sometimes hippies are too warm, like too touchy, too demonstrative. But in Seattle, there was none of that. And they were like, you are not a part of our group, like overtly.
Yeah.
And at the time I was in therapy, and I asked my therapist, like, what the hell is going on here? Does it mean? She said, no, they're Scandinavians. They're all descendants of Vikings. And they are so insular, and they distrust other people. They like you, but they'll never show it.
Yeah, that's funny. Maybe that's what it is too, because I have noticed that they're nice people. Like her family is very nice. My family loves her. Her family loves, like, you know, but there is that weird thing I've noticed, and it's funny to hear somebody else notice that.
Do you want children?
No, and neither does she.
Oh, that's good.
You know what? No, let me correct that. She would like kids.
Okay.
I am not. She knew that when she met me.
Yeah.
Obviously she can't have kids, so she'll have to adopt. But I'm not going to
Well,
do
a
it.
lot of people adopt.
I know, but I have no interest.
So it's interesting. I was talking to on Valentine's Day. I was talking to a dating expert, and we're talking about when someone wants to be in a relationship, how soon is too soon to tell someone like if you're on a first date, should a woman drop the bomb and be like, I want to have kids, I'm looking for a serious relationship, or is that such a turnoff? Like you can never even get your hooks in.
That's a great question. It depends, I think, on the age of the person too. Like I've dated women. My wife's younger than I am by a lot, but I've dated women who people would say is age appropriate, and I found out like 6 months in, like she really wanted kids, and I'm like, I'm wasting your time.
Yeah.
Like you're 36 or whatever, and you want children, and I know I don't.
And you
want
got a window at 36.
Women
and
have
you're,
the window.
You're feeling that window.
Yeah, and I felt bad for it. Like I don't want to waste somebody else's time either. Like I don't want. I'm dating somebody, and all of a sudden I know that they're. And then the conversation happens too fast, so it does turn you off. Where is this going? Where is this going? But they have to ask that because if you waste 4 years of their lives, that's 4 years that they could have had kids.
Yeah, and what it's cruel to fall in love with someone and let them fall in love with you when you know there's no future.
Yeah, I think with me, any Google search would let you know that I'm not about having kids, but I'm very open about it. And I find it's stating your intentions or what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And she's known that for a long time, that I don't want them.
So I have a French bulldog. And so last night we had one of the maintenance guys in the building come fix the oven. And I was holding my dog like a baby. And he was like, whoa, that dog's fat. I'm like, yes, I know. It's because I feed him too much because he's like my baby. Because
Right.
I have teenagers now. So I want to be maternal with something. So you get a French bulldog because they're always cute.
Yes.
So maybe Nikki could have the dog that she babies and that will fill that need.
You know, it's funny. I would get a hypoallergenic small dog. 'Cause I have a little terrace so the dog could pee outside. Like I'm not
Great.
about walking it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. I know I'll wind up taking care of it. So I just won't, I won't get it for that reason, but I can't breathe in a big, like hair drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So like a little hypoallergenic thing.
Yeah.
And I would like it too, I'm sure, but she wants to put a bell on it. Like I just know it's going to be.
Why does she want is that a Scandinavian?
I don't know. She's just nuts. And she's also like, she wants it to sleep in the bed with us. We have a king bed. And I recently, because I have a terrible sleep apnea, so I got a bed that raises.
Oh, those are the best. My daughter wouldn't let me get one. She didn't sleep in my bed. She was just like, Mom, those are for old people. If you get that, you have to get a life alert because you've fallen and you can't get up.
It is a hospital bed, yeah.
That's rude, but I would love, like, even for acid reflux,
yes,
have a little bit of motion and angle.
But I actually got two instead of one king. I got two XL twins, which equals a king. Because this way we can go up and down separately and have our own height. And I don't like being touched when I sleep. She's a cuddler. Like an invading. That is the Viking, the invasion. She loves to lay out.
You're mine, and I need to know you're mine. Yes.
Yeah. She's tall. She's like 6 feet, so she likes to splay out all over the bed. I loathe it. I never want to be touched when I'm sleeping.
I didn't know she was that tall.
Yeah.
She doesn't look that tall in video.
No, she claims 5'11", but we all know it's 6. We all know it's 6 feet. She finally admitted that.
Do you ever wear heels?
No.
Lifts, those Ron DeSantis boots?
No, I would wear heels before I'd wear lifts. They're less humiliating than getting caught wearing lifts. DeSantis' heels made me laugh.
Did you feel bad for him when that happened?
I don't like him at all.
Okay.
No, I don't like DeSantis, and I love that Trump went after him for it.
Yes.
I love that he went after him for it.
Well, I wrote about it in the Daily Mail, and I was like, it's so dishonest. Like, if you're 5'9", be 5'9". There's nothing wrong with it. No one's going to get mad at you. But when you try, and it's false advertising.
Yes, it is. But is it? And this is true. I almost have. Has there been a case where the shorter candidate has won?
No. Look at Michael Dukakis. The taller candidate always wins.
Always.
And I get it. But we're also in a time where political paradigms have been shattered.
That's true.
And it's like everyone said at the beginning of the 2024 race last year, like, anyone but Trump, like DeSantis, this is it. He's got a great record in Florida. Everyone wants Trumpism without Trump. And it's like, that's not true. And it had nothing to do with his height.
No, but what happened, I think the same thing happened with Dukakis too. Dukakis, and JFK was so smart. They gave him a cowboy hat once and he wouldn't put it on. He goes, well, if you come to the White House, I'll put it on, because he didn't want a photo of him looking stupid. Like he knew, like with Nixon and the sweating, before that JFK went to him and said to Nixon, I'm not wearing makeup. You wearing makeup? And Nixon goes, no, I won't wear it either. And then JFK wore makeup. So Nixon sweated.
What a jerk.
But he was a genius because Nixon looked nervous.
Yes.
And Dukakis had that tank photo that humiliating photo of him. Remember him
Yes.
in the tank? And people just went, oh, like it just, there was a cringe factor. And DeSantis had that with that stupid laugh, that moment of him going, where he looked like a puppet, and the weird heels. People, but with Trump it's so amazing because he's unscoldable.
Why is that?
Be-
Is he a total unicorn in that sense, or has everyone else just not figured out how to do it?
He's not. Look, let's be honest. There's definitely anyone who comes in from the outside and then takes it has got to be mentally. Sometimes you got to be psychotic on some
Yes.
level because to walk into politics as not a politician and tolerate that and win. But I do think that he is unscoldable, and that's a part of why people liked him. Not even about because there's more conservative guys than Trump. There's religious conservative. He's not a religious conservative. But it's the fact that he would not be broken by a public scolding from other people. Like, yeah, that happened. So what? And none of them have the guts to do it. And whenever they do it, you say, oh, they're just trying to do a Trump impression. It's not genuine.
It's not genuine. I mean, we saw that in 2016. And I love Rand Paul, but it's like Rand Paul and Marco Rubio and Chris Christie, they all tried to do the same thing. Like even Chris Christie this last time, like you're from New Jersey, but in the debates with Nikki Haley and Vivek and Ron DeSantis, there was something about it that I just found very, very annoying.
Well, when he said to Donald Duck, it's like you stop coming up with nicknames. That's Trump's thing, and it's not. And they miss the point. When Trump hits you with that, it's not just a nickname. He's like he like literally changes the way people are perceived publicly.
Yes,
it's not just him being randomly stupid, whether you like him or not. Give him the credit for being viscerally accurate with these. He captures something in someone and it just redefines them publicly. Like low energy Jeb wrecked him. It ended him. Like, little Mike. I liked Mike Bloomberg. I thought he was a good mayor, a bit nebbishy and annoying. And then little Mike, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, and little Marco Rubio, Liddle.
Little, he's a lightweight. He just says these things. And the greatest mistake people have made is underestimating or misunderstanding why people like this guy. It's not because they're all racist and dummy. There's something about him not being scolded and not bending when people criticize him. Now, that could be to his detriment too, but that's part of what people really liked about him.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
And I know people hate him. Like they hate him so much they will never unhate him, and I get it. And those people will actively vote against him. You could dig up Hitler, and there are people who would vote for dead skeleton Hitler as opposed to Donald Trump.
Or they wouldn't see the difference. They say it's the same guy. Yeah. They don't know the difference between Trump's bombastic rhetoric, which is annoying sometimes, and a guy who actually was a terrible murderer.
What would be the best way to run against him? Because Nikki Haley tried it. She's still in the race somehow. I don't know that she's doing herself any favors by staying in.
You have to be willing to go scorched earth.
Yes.
DeSantis was military, so he should have attacked Trump's lack of military record. But I think he wanted to spar with Trump, but he wasn't out for blood, where Trump goes for blood because he's not afraid of you. That's the beauty of him. It's like he's just not afraid that you're not going to like him anymore. He destroyed Ted Cruz, humiliated Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz came right back and was like, "Hey, he's my guy.
I think he's the best."
Yeah. So Trump is not afraid to scorched earth on people, and you have to be genuine. Like he's beatable, but you have to come.
That's my thing too. Everyone is beatable.
Yeah.
But that's what is most fascinating about him, and what everybody misses is no one has figured him out. And Biden thinks he did because of the way he was able to run in 2020, but I don't see Biden being able to do that because he's going downhill so quickly. I don't know if you've ever had an aging grandparent who has exhibited the signs that Joe Biden is, but it doesn't end well. Like it's not like they get a nap and they're restored.
No. Look, Biden is obviously plummeting quickly, but he didn't even Trump, I think, more lost than Biden won. And I do think Biden won the election, but I think it's because people just with Trump, they're like, we want something stable. Like if he had just shut up and not been so dug into every single, like, stop playing whack-a-mole with the media. You're
Yes.
right. They stink. We got it. Like, you're right about what you say.
Yeah.
You have me. I've been attacking them for 20 years. But after a while, even I was like, it's whack-a-mole and you'll never win
Yes.
because it's literally like it's a hornet's nest. You don't just kill one and they all die. It's you kill that one and that one comes up and then people forgot that you already killed that one and that one comes back. It's a no-win and you're bogged down in it.
Yes.
So I think that's where he really lost a lot of people's tolerance, is just the pettiness of a lot of these arguments. It's like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like, you didn't get us in a foreign war. I'm happy with that. I don't know if I'd vote for him. I don't hate him. And people I'm on stage in New York saying that, like, how could you not hate Trump? I'm like, I don't. I think he's fascinating. But I just don't want another.
See, I'm the same way. I didn't vote for him in 2016 or 2020. I didn't vote for Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, and I never would have. I voted for the Libertarian candidate.
Yeah.
And, I'm still one of those traditional people that someone has to earn my vote. And
Yes.
there are some policies of his that I really like.
Yep.
And sometimes I think the pettiness is distracting and annoying.
Yep.
And I appreciate when he makes me laugh. Like when he did that Joe Biden impression, I wanted to hug him because it was such a gift.
Yeah.
Because we never thought we would see anything like that in politics.
Yeah, he's there's been a million moments where people are just like, this guy's fun to be around. And I also trust that he's not going to. That's a really important thing for me, not to start a war. And I don't like America being involved in everybody else's business. It drives me nuts.
I agree completely.
And I interviewed him for UFC Unfiltered, which is the podcast I do with Serra. But it was all sports because Trump was a great friend to the UFC. And we talked for 40 minutes about boxing. And his memory was it was so good that people thought he was reading off a cue card.
Really?
Like, his memory, he's so much sharper than people are giving him credit for. But at the end of it, as we were saying our goodbyes, I wish I had remembered to tell him how much I loved that he attempted it with Kim Jong-un. I love that he went there and tried. It didn't work, but I love this. I hate when people won't talk to people we don't like.
Yes.
Like when we act like spoiled brats and we won't talk to Cuba because Cuba didn't do what we wanted. Like, I like that he tried with Kim Jong-un, even though it didn't work.
Yeah, I would like someone like that to try with Cuba in a not communist way.
Yeah, and I like personally, like the fact that we have this weird thing with Cuba. I know the whole missile crisis thing. That was a big
It's a
thorn.
while ago.
Sure, I mean we've gotten over
I mean, it
worse.
was pre-Tang.
Japan, yes, exactly. Japan forgave us. We can forgive.
Sure.
We can forgive the Cubans for getting carried away with the Russians. The Russians probably talked it over, and made it look like it'd be a great idea. But I don't understand this whole weird thing with Cuba. So I hate when we don't engage people we don't like. It's babyish. So there's a lot I do like about him, but Biden is just unelectable, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how people honestly have that conversation. Like when you talk about, Trump is smarter and sharper than they give him credit for, people give Biden too much credit. And they say stupid things like, oh, no, he's so sharp when you meet with him in private. Well, oddly enough, the presidency is a very public job.
Yes, it is.
They say the same thing about Kamala Harris. Like, oh, no, when you talk to her one-on-one, she has tremendous command of all the facts and her capabilities. Like, well, you actually have to display that very publicly, politically, and in terms of policy. And neither of them can do that.
No, and I think she is probably a lot. I mean, look, she was a prosecutor. She's not dumb. She's obviously very smart, and she's probably very good at locking in on something and finding the flaw in an argument. But again, publicly, the word salad thing that people always talk about, she's really
and the
bad
laughing,
at it.
the nervous laughing.
She's just not good publicly, and I think Biden hurt her. This jackass. I have no problem. If the vice president is a black woman, great. But he said beforehand that the nominee will be a black woman. So he's like, he automatically put her like into a category of not having earned it, even though that might not be the case. He should have just picked her.
Yes.
Like, you didn't have to say beforehand that you were going to pick someone of this group and of this gender. Just pick her. Like, you don't need to tell me that beforehand so you get credit for. I thought he really hurt her by doing that. And it was a stupid
Well, he not
move.
only hurts her, he hurts other successful black women because people see them and they're like, oh, diversity hire. That's the only reason she's here, because she's black and she's a woman.
Yeah.
And so no matter how smart and talented you are, that giving someone that presumption is cruel. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I thought that was just tactically a stupid move. And I thought, like, why would you put her in that position? of just make her the nominee. You don't hear that from anybody else. I'm going to make a white male my nominee. They pick who they want. Trump didn't make it a statement. I'm going to pick an older white male. He just
George
did.
H.W. Bush. That's it. I'm picking a white guy.
Yeah, I'm picking a white guy.
Male Midwesterner. And no one can tell me how brave I am.
Everyone else just makes the picks, and
Yeah.
that's how she should have been treated, as just another candidate who he said this was the person I feel would serve the office best. But yeah, it's going to be, I can't believe we're here again 4 years later. It's going to be this.
Would you ever run for office?
No.
I mean, not because of things that you've said and because of your relationship with your wife, which I think is fascinating. And I think
Thank
would
you.
be a very helpful jumping off point for a lot of people because you guys are so honest about your relationship and it's so funny.
Thank
as
you.
It should be. Like, we should be able to talk about these things. And
Yes. My job with Nikki is not to we want people to we want people to like us or not like us based on what they're watching us do. Like, yeah, she's transgender. Okay. But that gets you how far? Like, someone is not more or less entertaining or more or less compelling because they're transgender. So when people see us, like, do you think that what we're doing is funny? Like, that's what I want you to judge it on.
Yes.
Like, not, there's no messaging with it because I think messaging is boring.
Yes.
And it's insulting and it makes me want to vomit when I can see the writer all over a script, you know what I mean? When I can smell the writer's opinion, drop dead. And that's what we want people to judge, like that. You think that we're fun to watch, and then it's like, oh, okay, but our marriage is the same as anybody else's.
Exactly right.
That's it.
Yes.
There's no. The whole thing is not about her transness. It's not about, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Has she ever asked you, would you love me more if I had a vagina?
No, she knows the answer is absolutely not. No, she knows I love her as she is.
That's beautiful.
And there's no.
We should all be so lucky.
I mean, that really is all you can ask for, is just somebody who likes you as a person, who loves you as a person, and who wants to be with you based on who you are. Yeah. Like, just if we put out something that we felt was trying to, we've talked to production companies, and it seems that there's always an angle they want to take that we won't take. We won't take this angle of, if you don't like this, I don't like bigotry. Like, I don't like people who hate trans people. They make me sick. Yeah. But I also don't think that you should be fired for saying you don't like trans people. Like, you should be able to say it. And then
what about ask questions?
Ask questions. People have asked us all these weird sexual questions. I mean, I am really unembarrassable, and she could care less. She's great. Yeah. Like, she's very happy to discuss any of it. We've asked very personal questions. People have asked. And
do you ever give people advice? Like, that would be funny. I would love to see an advice element on your show.
It's funny. We just started the podcast. It's video on YouTube. We're not, because I have a contract with Sirius. I'm not allowed to do audio only yet. But we just started taking questions through our email. Like, if you have questions, so we're going to start answering them.
Great.
But people don't, like, there's so many people in public life who date trans girls who don't talk about it. And it would be helpful if you don't have to talk about what sex you like, but to write off a whole group of people because you're a coward and you're afraid that your friends won't like you. It's just kind of weak, and it's kind of mealy and soft. Admit the people that you like.
How do you guys feel about having gender surgeries and, gender affirming care for kids?
It's like anything that I don't have kids, so it doesn't affect me at all. I think with children, though, there's like, kids don't know who they are. It has nothing to do with being transgender. Like, I wanted to get Ozzy on my knuckles when I was up till I was about 30.
I wanted to do it last week.
But you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to make decisions as a kid that would have impacted me negatively.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad idea. But it's not because I think that trans care shouldn't be given. I just think that a surgery that is that radical is hard for someone who's young to know how they're going to feel 30 years from now. Yeah. But again, the reason I don't think about that much is I don't have children, and it doesn't affect me at all. But when I think about it, it's like, yeah, it's too young.
Yes. But you were a child.
Yes.
And you care deeply for people. And I think anytime you have that memory and that empathy, that is an informed feeling.
You know what would help that too? And I think that a lot of times, if trans kids were treated better with respect and with love, and like, hey, you're trans, it's okay, then maybe the appearance wouldn't be as important because you're being treated well and you're being treated with, you know what I mean? Like, it's when you feel like I'm being treated terribly and I'm not being respected for who I am, then you want this surgery. See, like, now you can't deny who I am, and now I feel that's what I'm guessing. I'm not trans, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that you have to treat people with. They shouldn't have to hide being trans either. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things about don't talk about this to kids, and I get it. You don't want to sexualize stuff, but part of it is not just introducing this to a third grader. Part of this is when you are that kid, you feel like you're broken.
Yes.
Like when you're a kid who's transgender or gay, you feel like there's something terribly wrong with me.
Yes.
And if people would just know that I'm okay being this way, or bullying, like, you know, in the 70s, it was worse. You know, you got called out, you got beaten up.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it helps for bullying too. Like if you teach this is a thing, you don't have to say that being transgender is the only way to be. But if you're teaching that this is a part of human existence, and it's an okay part of human existence, maybe bullies aren't as likely to beat the shit out of somebody because they're different. Yes. I think that's, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's a balance there. It seems like everybody's either 100% for surgeries in first grade, or it should never be acknowledged because God hates you.
And also, if you have questions about surgeries for kids, that's a question. That doesn't make you transphobic, and 100%. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Absolutely not. And you should be able to ask those questions. You know, Nikki is much better at discussing this stuff than I am. And she's pretty level-headed about it. And you know, and I think she transitioned when she was late teens. And I think she feels pretty strongly about, you know, you should be able to make responsible decisions as you get older.
Would you both come back so I could ask you advice and just come up with a list of things that I need help with?
Oh, yeah, because she's very, very comfortable giving her opinion.
I would love it. So please bring her by.
I would love to. Yeah, I'm sure she would love it too.
Thank you for having this conversation with me.
Oh, it's great. I love you. I'm happy to be here.
You are just one of my very favorites.
It's mutual.
I love being on Gutfeld with you, so thank you for taking this time.
Thank you, Kennedy. It was great seeing you.
The great Jim Norton. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.